Welcome to the Tomorrow's World Today podcast. We sit down with experts, world-changing innovators, creators, and makers to explore how they're taking action to make tomorrow's world a better place for technology, science, innovation, sustainability, the arts, and more. And now, this week's episode.
In this episode of the Tomorrow's World Today podcast, George Davison, who is also the host of Tomorrow's World Today on Science, interviews Scott Tu, who is the VP of Sustainability at Trane Technologies, a global leader in heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration systems. They discuss Trane's origins and its growth into a $16 billion global company, their current focus on reducing emissions and improving product efficiency, and their commitment to innovation through sustainability by embracing a concept called circularity, where products are designed with their full life cycle in mind. Now here's George.
Welcome, Scott.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for coming in to chat with us a little bit about Trane Technologies.
Yeah.
You know, and for our audience who may not know the organization, maybe we could chat a little bit about, you know, how it all got started.
Sure. Started with a guy named Reuben Trane in Wisconsin more than 100 years ago, 110 years ago actually, who was a plumber that came up with a new way to cool a home. And we've built a company on that premise of how do you heat, how do you provide ventilation, and how do you air condition spaces.
So he was an entrepreneur. He took the chance.
Yeah, he did.
And he was an inventor.
An inventor, yes.
All right, well, let's give everybody out there a little bit more intel on the size of this organization. This is a $16 billion organization in revenue a year, and they have approximately 40,000 employees globally.
Yeah, and a lot of those are scientists and engineers.
So you're going to need more of those scientists and engineers in the future, won't you?
Yes, we will.
And your background is, I believe, sustainability. Correct?
Yeah, that's right. I lead sustainability for the company, which is really I'm the person that leads a team to help us be more efficient, help our products reduce emissions, and help us cool spaces with less environmental impact.
And somehow or another, you got into sustainability.
I did.
How'd that happen?
I grew up on a farm in South Alabama, and if you've ever been to a farm, you know that the concept of recycling, reusing, reducing is sort of the mantra of any farm, small or large. And I've now kind of played that into the rest of my career, working for companies, helping them to figure out ways to reduce their emissions, reduce their waste, and to reuse all that can be reused. And that's sort of the concept of sustainability.
That's a great way to look at it.
Right.
And really, farms, they work very hard to be efficient, don't they?
They do, but I think there are many companies today that do the same thing.
I think you're right. There'll be a lot of career opportunities in that field, won't there?
There are a lot in the field today, from people that are servicing the equipment that's already installed in buildings to those who install them in new buildings, as well as those who just are working to redesign the equipment to make it more efficient, to make it last longer, to make it run more smoothly.
So people who are creative problem solvers, inventor types, they're trying to innovate your company's product lines today?
Yeah, I mean, never before, I think, have companies like Trane Technologies needed that entrepreneurial idea, that person who maybe just out of school who's got this great idea. I think we are one of those companies where we're embracing that idea of entrepreneur and putting it into play inside of our businesses, because innovation is, that's how we get to where we need to go for tomorrow.
Absolutely. And it keeps you competitive, right?
It does. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with that.
No. And then I guess the other benefit is as you become competitive, you become more sustainable because it makes sense.
I think that they go hand in hand. I think the more sustainable you are, the more you get to win, because you're providing something even better for those who are buying your equipment.
That key word, better.
Right.
We love that word around here. How about when you were growing up? Let's go all the way back, if you don't mind. Okay. I'd like to go back maybe to the farm, or maybe when you were just starting to explore a little off the farm. Did you have any mentors in your life that helped to get you where you are today?
I did. I had, there were great mentors even in high school. I had a great science teacher in high school who used science to sort of intrigue my idea of testing things to see if they work, which is sort of the basis of science. I didn't know I was going into science, though, when I went off to college. I was the first person in my family for 7 generations to make it to college. I thought I would be a business person, but I ended up loving my first biology class and and took more and more, and all of a sudden I switched majors into science, and environmental science actually, which kept me focused on what happens outside in nature. And so that then became something that I found a new job in with a large company and helping to assess risk in nature. And from that, I've moved into several other companies to do things around environmental impacts.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, the art of inventing, utilizing your observational skills, looking at nature for inspiration on how to do things, something that we do around here quite often. So at Trane, do you actually focus in on how nature does cooling and heating? Is that part of the process?
We have a process called circularity, which is this concept, which is a nature concept around everything there's a life cycle to things, and things are designed across the life cycle, sort of like a circle. There's a beginning where you use raw materials, something's manufactured, something is used, and then at the end of its useful life, you have a plan for what happens then. It's recycled, it's reduced, it's reused in another way. And so it's a great concept that we are putting into place in how we design products for the future.
That's great. So all the way from the very beginning of the concept of what you're going to create, you've already figured out how it's going to be dealt with later in its life and reused again?
Yeah, exactly. And
beautiful.
The unusual thing about Trane Technologies is that many of our products are long-lasting, 15, 25, 40 years sometimes. So if you think about that requires some interesting design concepts.
How important would other innovations play a role in Trane's movement over the last 100 years? Your products have changed quite a bit from the original invention I was looking at to what we have today. So how does the innovation world work in your space where, let's say, aluminum's just been invented, and now that's going to light bulb on somebody's mind inside Trane, and maybe you integrate that thinking into your system, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a process that, do you watch current technologies, things that are evolving, and see how it might impact your business?
Yeah, we have teams of people, engineers and scientists, who are scanning and monitoring developments in materials and testing those materials in our products. Those create advancements, like you just mentioned, from material space. But we also have people who are inventing and designing things to add to our systems, like technology, smart technologies, controls, sensors, even AI.
Interesting. So if you're going to use AI, can you give me an example?
Yeah, AI for cooling a building, whether it's a home or an office building, can be used to monitor the weather and adjust the system inside the building to respond to a cooler day, to a warmer day. The building can also know and understand what happens typically with occupancy in the building. We know that people are in office buildings from roughly 8 to 6, and so the building can monitor who's in the space and can cool accordingly and reduce the energy use because of that.
Very nice. Those kind of advances were only a dream, 30, 40 years ago,
right.
And now you're doing it. And it takes people to do that.
It does.
And it takes young people coming up in the world with some STEM and STEAM knowledge, right? Does Trane Technologies, do you have internships or anything like that?
We do. We have internships for all interest, whether it's people that are wanting to find out how we design products in engineering. We also have internships in some of our functions, like people management, even in finance. So an internship really is, it can also be global. So we have interns who work with us across many of our factories, offices, research centers. Lots of opportunities to spend a summer or a semester working with us.
That would have been a great opportunity.
Yeah, it would.
I would take that one in a heartbeat.
I would too.
Can you tell me something that you or your company tried to do that failed, and what did you or Trane do in response to that failure?
I think this concept of failing used to be something that companies did not want to embrace. I think that's not the concept. It's not we're not that company though. I think we embrace failure these days. We actually encourage our teams to try things, knowing that sometimes they do fail. And we've certainly done that, whether we're talking products or maybe a business model that we want to try to see if it would work. and never before have we been so fast to try these new concepts in the marketplace.
Isn't it funny? Things have moved a lot,
Yeah.
We refer to it around here as we fail our way forward. And I think that's the only way to innovate, really. If you're not pushing the envelope, then you're not taking any chances.
You have to be willing to try some things that may sound odd and strange from in the first glance, but you have to be willing to try that out.
And with your science background, I'm sure that's not unfamiliar to you.
No, I love it.
Same here. Let's say if we did go back to high school or your early college days, if you could do one thing over again, what would it be? And try to think of in terms of career development or future jobs, something like that.
I think one of the things I would do differently is probably do some things faster. I think at times I was a bit too cautious on making a change, whether it's career or whether it was trying some new concept like we were just talking about. Mm-hmm. I would do some of those things faster, because what I've learned is that it's the trying that leads to the new idea, the new development, the new way of doing something. So try more and try them faster. I would certainly have done that in my early career.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think when we're in high school, at least when I was growing up, it's like, yeah, study and get that A, and keep trying and trying and trying, and it's hard to do that consistently.
It is.
Yeah, if I could, doing things over, I think that's a good way to say it. Can I fail faster, learn faster, something along that line? In a company or on a team, people often have many ideas for ways to improve something or solve a problem. How do you or Trane Technologies select and prioritize which ideas to pursue and which ones to leave on the back burner?
There's so many ideas to pursue, and they keep coming at us fast and furious. It could be a guy who's invented something in a garage at his home, and he thinks this is the next way to cool a space and calls us up. There can also be companies that have invented great new technologies, smart technologies that are AI enabled. And they may have a small company, and we're interested in learning from them. And so we have a small team of people that are monitoring those developments. Mm-hmm. If you have that concept and you've thought you've invented the next great way of cooling a space, call us. We have a team that's ready to talk to you, that's ready to find out what we think about your idea and also how we might could integrate it into how we're doing things now.
That's great. So the outside world's important to feed technology, and never know where those ideas are coming from.
Right.
How about research? In the business that you're in and the job that you do, how important is research in your work?
I think it's more important today than ever. Everyone knows that the technology side in particular, we've never seen a time where there was so much technology-enabled efficiencies, and technology enables a greater way of doing things than ever before, including in how we cool your home, cool a building, or cool things that are being transported across roadways. It's the technology that enables all of that now. We've moved way beyond just the equipment that's doing it, that sometimes maybe in the basement of a building.
Right. Just keeps growing, keeps moving on us. How about teamwork? Surely you guys are working on it as a team. And when we're doing inventing in these schools, it's usually a teamwork kind of atmosphere. Yep. So can you talk a little bit about, how teamwork has played a pivotal role in your success?
Yeah, collaboration with a team, whether it's a team that you're working day to day with, or maybe it could be a virtual team today with people at different locations who work together. We call them networks. Mm-hmm. And those networks are where the magic happens, because one person's idea is great, but when that person can bounce those ideas off of a network of people inside the company and sometimes outside the company, where we collaborate with an outside organization like a national lab, what you get is sort of an exponential idea that can even have a bigger impact. And so we love this whole concept of collaboration and teamwork, to use your word, because it's how we actually take something great and make it even better.
Yeah, sometimes those outside ideas can add more fuel in.
They can.
If you have the right group of people, you ever have somebody like a stick in the mud that makes it difficult to push through.
Yeah, there's always those people that's either we've tried this before and it didn't work,
Right.
or the person that just doesn't embrace change. Some people just resist change, and both of those people can really be put a dampening effect on a team. But it's all about the culture, though. I think our company has a culture that embraces collaboration. We don't really prize the one person as sort of the superstar. It's more about the team and how the work happens that we really prize.
Yeah. The way we look at things, too, from that teamwork perspective, we have the inventing phase, the making or manufacturing phase, and then we have the storytelling phase.
Yeah.
And they're all different teams.
They are.
But every once in a while, if you can get them all together early on, you can save a lot of time.
True, but sometimes we don't get them together soon enough.
Right. Good leadership counts.
Exactly.
Right? All right, how about visual communication?
Yeah.
The ability to communicate an idea with a sketch or illustration is a skill that many people struggle with. How important is it to be able to communicate your ideas visually, or have someone on your team that can communicate visually?
Well, I think helping people understand and visualize a possibility, it's just so important. Hearing about it verbally is just not enough. If you can provide some way for them to grasp it, I'm a very visual person, so I need to see what we're talking about, whether it's a building, whether it's how we're going to do something in a building. It will help people like me in particular, and maybe you, figure out what the potential might be for whatever we're talking about, especially if it's a brand new concept.
Yeah, the whole idea of innovations and new things, talking is one thing, but when people talk, I see something in my mind, but it may not be what you're saying.
That's right.
And there's a plus and a minus to that, I think. But learning how, like the art teacher's real important. Learning how to use, how to transfer from here onto the paper so other people can see. Yeah, we're like, this is the opposite of the way we learn is we might have 4 people sitting at a table brainstorming, and I want you to look at my drawing. I want you to, as I'm drawing, that might give you an idea.
It could.
Feed if you're a good sketcher.
Yeah, we could tweak it a little.
Yeah. So art class can be real important in school.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. How important is marketing to your business? In what ways do you at Trane Technologies tell others about your goods and services?
I think marketing is very important because it is about storytelling. It is about helping people that may be evaluating options to understand what the possibilities are for choosing Trane Technologies over some other system. And marketing can can come in lots of forms. We have one of our businesses has a phrase calls it "hard to stop a train," and which people can remember. That's sort of a marketing phrase, but it also relays a concept that the systems are built to last.
It really does. Yeah, whoever came up with that slogan is great work.
Right.
Or whatever team came up with that slogan, right? Because I noticed there's 2 logos on the screen behind us.
Yep.
Somebody designed those logos.
Correct.
So
That's a marketing person.
right.
Yeah.
And whoever selected the font for your Trane Technologies, that Trane, it's very modern, space age looking. That's not by accident,
no,
is it?
it's not.
So there are professions out there that are focused on just communication, marketing, graphics, that kind of thing, even color selection.
Yeah, and that's part of the possibilities within a company like Trane Technologies. Roles that help people understand what we're doing, communications. Some people just communicate with our employees. Some are just focused on external audiences. Some are just in marketing, like you mentioned. There's thousands of possibilities for people that are interested in future jobs.
So these big corporations, there's all sorts of different jobs. Keep an open mind, because maybe there's something in there that you find interesting, right?
Right.
You just have to find your way. In any business, there are often many jobs being done all at the same time, to reach a common goal. So how does Trane Technologies manage multiple operations and keep people working toward the same objective?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say we do that in 2 ways.
Okay.
First is we set a set of principles, things like efficiency. And the concept would be, how do we design systems that are more efficient next time than the existing ones today? Okay. The second piece of that would be then making some teams, assigning teams to be accountable to make that happen. And so that can happen at a smaller level within the company. If everyone's working on the principle of redesigning a system so that it's more efficient in the next life of a system than what we're putting in the market today, and then that's how those two concepts can happen at the same time. Sort of a higher level principle of efficiency, and then a collaborative team making it happen on the ground.
Nice. And so they would coordinate then, right, with all the major divisions, so you can get to the end marketplace with the objected, the product they're trying to create,
right,
at a price point that you want to compete at, right?
Right, because that'd be part of that sort of overarching objective as well, which would be to make sure it's affordable.
Right. So it does take a team. It does take good collaboration, and inventing is usually not done in a single vessel by a single person. But so if we're going to just kind of take a little side turn here for a minute, and if you could talk to our audience and just talk to us like you were talking to us if we were your son or your daughter. And the world's a big place, and it's moving fast towards some unknown. Based on what your experience is, if you were talking to your son or daughter, what recommendations or discussion would you have with us to help us on our journey as it's coming at us?
I would say to my son or daughter that I think we're at a very special time where some of the jobs that are possible for people in the future are jobs that are associated with a purpose, something bigger than just the job. Mm-hmm. I think of my job, for instance, as one that's not just about going to work every day for a paycheck, but it's also about doing something that's long-lasting, and it's also about improving the impact we have on nature. And for me, that's about a higher purpose. It's a bigger value than just getting a paycheck. It's about doing something that's bigger than just me, and working on a team that's focused in the same way it's really rewarding. And so I'd tell my son or daughter that you need to find that spot for you that is also about more than just a paycheck. And companies like Trane Technologies offer that in so many ways, where you can go to work and at the end of the day you can feel really good about what you're doing because it's something that's it's improving people's lives, and it's also improving how we actually find comfort and at the same time do something that's good for the environment.
So maybe in your English class, or we would refer to that as a noble cause.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So if it's a noble cause, you don't struggle to get out of bed in the morning.
No.
It's, hey, I'm up and I want to go chase that cause because it makes me feel good as a human being. And also I get the paycheck.
That's nice too.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. All right. So let's, what do you think, and we'll kind of start to wrap up here, but in the world of innovation, what's the next big one coming down the pipe in the HVAC industry?
Everything's being electrified. 90+% of the world's heating today is based on burning fossil fuels. We're essentially still building fires like we did in the cave days. and we now have the technologies that can electrify spaces. And as the electric grid gets cleaner with more renewable energy in place, the potential for us to make even a bigger impact on reducing emissions and reducing energy use has never been bigger than it is today.
That's great. So there'll be you'll have a lot of needs for young people coming up.
A lot of needs.
Good. We like that. Well, Scott, too, from Trane Technologies, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you, George. Great to be here.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Tomorrow's World Today podcast. Join us next time as we continue to explore the worlds of inspiration, creation, innovation, and production. Discover more at tomorrowsworldtoday.com and connect with us on social media at TWT Explore. And find us wherever podcasts are available.